Today we are continuing with the series where we go through and look at the best shiny hunting locations for every Pokemon in this game. Today we are going to be going through the fire type Pokemon, and to start out we are going to talk about Fletchinder. I already went over Fletchling in the normal type video, so that's another resource for that. But if you're looking specifically for Fletchinder, you're going to want to go to the South Area Province 4 Watchtower. From this watchtower, you're going to want to go south a tiny bit, and just this little patch of area south of there, you can find Fletchinders everywhere with a fire type sandwich equipped. On the map, this is just in this little area right here where you can see my icon, right above the Meryl outbreak that's going on. But yeah, that's the best place for Fletchinder. Next up is Houndour. For Houndour, I'm going to teleport to the Path Lighthouse. Just from the lighthouse, we're going to go back into that cave we met Miraidon or Koraidon in originally. And just kind of walking around in here, Houndours can spawn quite frequently, as they are one of 3 Pokemon that really spawn in this area frequently. So that's where I would recommend hunting for Houndour. It might be a little bit tough at times because there's not a whole lot of area in this cave, but if you just keep looking around, you should eventually be able to find one. Next up is Rolycoly. Rolycoly is quite easily found in East Province 3, as well as Carkol that spawn everywhere. Unfortunately, there are other fire types that spawn in this area, such as Growlithe. There's no other place where you can find Rolycoly or Carkol. So you'll have to search through this area and just hope that you stay away from a lot of the other fire types. The next Pokemon we are going to be looking at is Oricorio. For Oricorio, we're going to teleport to the Artisan East Pokemon Center. From this Poke Center, we're going to slightly walk to the south until we exit Artisan. Once you have hit East Province Area 1, you'll be able to see some Charcadet, but if you move more this direction, more south towards the edge of the map, you'll start to mainly see Oricorios. As you can see, they're spawning everywhere. There is the occasional Charcadet, but this is a great place to find Oricorio, specifically the Fire Flamingo form. And if you get even farther away from the city, kind of more towards this like dark corner, you'll start to see only Oricorios for the most part. So just try and stay away from the city, I recommend, if you're going for Oricorio. And honestly, I think the fire type Oricorio is the best one to hunt for, as this is the best place to find it generally, as well as you can just change their forms with the items in this game. Next on the list is a very elusive shiny to get. That includes Salandit and by extension Salazzle. This one I say is kind of elusive because only female Salandit can evolve, and they have a very skewed gender ratio, so it can be hard to actually get a shiny Salazzle. But if you teleport from where you see... Oh, fell off the cliff there. Just a little north of Alfornada, I teleport to the Leaking Tower of Paldea, but you can go from here. Just go north a little bit until you reach the Alfornada Cavern, which is right down here. Here we are. This is Alfornada Cavern. As you can see, there are Salandits pretty frequently spawning. Don't know where the rest of them are. There's one right there. Do we got any more that want to spawn? Maybe. Okay. Just kind of gotta walk around this area. It can be tough at times to tell if the Salandit is shiny, just because the lighting in these caves can make them seem a little white at times. But you just gotta keep an eye out. And yeah, this is the best place to find it. There are a couple of set spawns in this cave, like the Gabite and the Hariyama you saw earlier. Sableye one, I guess, as well. Just another set spawn that'll pretty much always be there. There's a little pack of Salandit. There's the Terra Houndoom. But if you just keep going around trying to avoid these major spawns, you'll be able to get quite a few Salandits seen in the time of your sandwich. The next Pokemon on the list is Torkoal. For Torkoal, we're going back to East Province 3, but we're going to fly over to the East Zapopico Pokemon Center. From here, we're going to just go ahead and walk into the East Province Area 3, and this is a good place to find Torkoals. Specifically a little bit more southeastish of Zapapico. You should be able to find them. But as it is, there's just so many roly-coly and Carkol that also like to spawn in this area. It might be best to go for a Torkoal outbreak if you want to hunt for this Pokemon shiny. As you can see now, a couple more are spawning, just kind of along this area. But also there's of course the roly-colies and Carkols that spawn in groups. So it can be tough to find a shiny Torkoal, which is why I would recommend, as earlier, to try and search for an outbreak of one. Next up is Numel. Numel can be found right next to this West Province Area 1 Pokemon Center, specifically the northern one. Once we get there, you'll be able to see just the sheer number of Numel that just spawn right outside this area. There's one right there, a couple more. They just spawn pretty frequently outside of here, which not something I really knew that they even spawned over here before making this video, but just interesting. Learning where some of these Pokemon have more frequent spawn locations has probably been one of the more fun parts about making these videos, honestly. Now, Charcadet has multiple places where you can find it inside of this game. You can find it like along this West Province 1 area around here. You can find it pretty frequently if you have a sandwich, as well as some others that I don't know off the top of my head. But for me, what I thought was the best was going over to the Tag Tree Thicket, because the Tag Tree Thicket has no other similar fire types that can spawn anywhere near this area, so you are pretty much guaranteed to only ever see the Charcadet when in this area. If we go ahead and just right on over, I'll show you what I mean. See, we haven't even gotten all the way in. We can already see Charcadet. There's another over there, some more over here. Yeah, just overall, I think that the Tag Tree Thicket's probably the best place for them. It's not the most noticeable shiny, so you're going to have to be on the lookout for it when hunting. But just kind of walking around Tag Tree Thicket, I think that it should stick out well enough here. Flareon. Eevee itself is not an easy Pokemon to find, but it does have, its evolutions do have some decent spots. Flareon being the fire type evolution, of course. You can find it in 2 places. The only unfortunate thing is, though, that it is pretty much always in these areas spawning with Scovillain as well. As you might have noticed earlier, up here in South Province 6, you see the Scovillans. They spawn pretty frequently, but also so do Flareons, wherever they want to be. There we go. Flareons, yeah. It sucks because there's no real great way to hunt many of the evolutions. Just because Eevee itself, you have to get an outbreak for. And a bunch of the other evolutions have these contested spawns. The other location is up here in North Province 1. I teleport over here to the Watchtower a little bit. From the Watchtower, just going a little bit west lets you start to see the Scovillain again, as well as Flareon, if any of them want to show up. This kind of also just shows that Scovillain is much easier to find than the Flareon. The Flareon don't spawn as frequently, unfortunately, because there is just nowhere you can isolate it completely without there also being Scovillain. See, okay, we're starting to see some of the Flareon now, but as you can probably tell, it's just not a great time trying to hunt for these shinies, as it's just very contested by the Scovillain. For the next Pokemon, being Growlithe, we're going to go to the West Artisan Pokemon Center. From this West Pokemon Center, you're going to want to go into the rocky area of South Province Area 3. In these I guess later areas technically, but the first kind of portions of the province, you'll see Growlithe spawning everywhere. Though if you go too far into the province, you will start to see Charcadets as well. But for the most part, you'll mainly just see Growlithes everywhere. This next Pokemon, it's really hard to hunt because it does not technically isolate, but it does. That being the fire form of Tauros. Can actually force the fire form of Tauros to be the only pack spawn that does. The way I do it is at West Province Area 2 with the fire sandwich on, of course. I'm not in the proper game for this right now, but if you have the fire sandwich on in Pokemon Scarlet, you will be able to see only the Tauros packs spawning with the fire type Tauros. Unfortunately, I'm in Violet right now, but I will probably have some footage on screen just showing that if you do have the fire sandwich on, you will be seeing a whole bunch of the Paldean Tauros hordes or herds with the fire form as the pack leader. And while the other Tauros won't have their shiny odds boosted, this will boost the odds for the fire form Tauros if you do not want to go through with a Masuda method hunt, which might be slightly more effective. Up next is Litleo and Pyroar. And I grouped these two together just because you basically end up finding them both together in these areas. For this, we're going to go over to the Glaseado Mountain. I'm teleporting to this watchtower over here, but you can go from other places as long as you end up on the rocky type part of the mountain. And as you can see here are some lit Pyroars right here. And if you just keep walking up and down this mountain, you'll see Litleo's Pyroars just all the way around it, because this is the only fire type that can spawn in this area. I talked about Litleo and Pyroar a little bit in my normal video, which you can do a normal sandwich on here as well if you wanted, but the only downside is that you'll also see Pokemon such as Yungoos and Gumshoos spawning. So the fire sandwich is probably what is best for this Pokemon. Up next is Larvesta. For Larvesta, we're going to teleport over to the Asado Desert. And for this, you're just going to want to go a little bit, like, kind of north, be in the northern part of the Asado Desert, just because that's the best place for Larvesta to spawn. As you can see, they're kind of just everywhere. I mentioned Larvesta in my bug type video as well, as this being the best place for it. So you can do either a bug or fire type sandwich for this Pokemon. Both work pretty well as long as you are in the northern part of the Asado Desert. Now for the final Pokemon I want to talk about, we have to go to Area 0. This Pokemon is a Pokemon Violet exclusive, being Iron Moth, the paradox form of Volcarona. I'm just going to jump down this way because this is the quickest way to get to the area where I like to hunt for Iron Moth. Once you have fallen down the hole, just kind of walk towards this area. You can see the Iron Moths everywhere, kinda. There aren't a whole bunch of other fire types that will spawn down here, so you will just pretty much be able to see the Iron Moths everywhere, at least in the grassy areas of Area 0. A couple other Pokemon I do want to mention that have good spawn locations in here. The first Pokemon I want to also mention that spawn pretty well in here is Talonflame. If you are in any of the like rocky mountainous parts like this, you will be able to find Talonflame quite easily. I actually, while doing research for this video, found a Talonflame down here. I might have that footage on screen now, but yeah. You can also find some Numel and Camerupt down here. They're not as consistent with the fire type sandwich just because Talonflames also spawn a whole lot, but that is another option down here. Another Pokemon that also spawns in here is Volcarona. If you're kind of towards this area of the Area 0, you know, just right where I was over there, in this shady type area, you will see Volcaronas everywhere. So yeah, that is the locations for every fire type Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Just making sure to reiterate, you are going to need to do these hunts with a level 3 fire sandwich that increases the sparkling and encounter power, just so that you have the best results. Right now I have a Volcarona deciding to sit on me, which is not great, but anyways, if you enjoyed this video, there is a playlist on screen with the other shiny hunting videos I have done, if any of those interest you. Good luck with your shiny hunt, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace!